middle is Jerry Marin.
We represent the Lollipop Guild, the Lollipop Guild, the Lollipop Guild, and in the name of the Lollipop Guild,
we wish to welcome you to Munchkin Land. And that's when I handed Judy Garland the lollipop. I was 17, and prior to this, I'd never seen a little man in person in my life, or a little woman. And I was all excited because I heard there were going to be quite a few little men and women. And we got on the bus where I seen all of them. I said, oh, I was so excited. Little guys just like me. And I watch how they walk and I watch how they talk. And it was exciting. I said, my goodness, here I am in Hollywood for the first time in pictures and with the biggest studio.
as coroner I must.
Well, when we met the casting director, he took a look at us and he picked about 8 of us to say the lines of the Munchkin Coroner. I probably enunciated a little bit more distinctly or more emphatically than some of the others. So he says, okay, you're the coroner. And then, of course, Adrian, the gentleman who is in charge of costumes, measured every single Munchkin and designed an individual costume for each person, so that it took the costume department about 5 weeks to make up all these costumes, during which time we were rehearsing. So as soon as the costumes were ready, we were ready to start shooting. Jack Dawn took each one of us and said, well, now what is your part? What are your lines? And then he would put on a makeup for us. And then as soon as he was finished with us, they would take a still shot, and that was put in the files. And then each other Munchkin who had a speaking part was likewise done a master makeup by Jack Dawn and put in the file, so that when we were ready to shoot, all they had to do was take that picture out of the file, and one of the assistant makeup men would put on the same whiskers and beard, so that we would be have the same appearance every day that we were on the set.
He's known as Leo the Lion's best friend. A. Arnold Gillespie, everyone calls him Buddy, is Hollywood's dean of special effects. And Oz presents him with his greatest challenge. Buddy Gillespie must create a dazzling array of special effects, many of them never before attempted. A floating farmhouse and a floating head. A melting witch and flying monkeys. Fireballs, talking trees, and a terrifying tornado. Ever wonder how this special effect was accomplished? Gillespie drops a miniature farmhouse from the top of a soundstage. He shoots it in slow motion and later will reverse the film so the farmhouse appears to be falling into the camera. The floor of the soundstage is painted to look like a Kansas sky with some dry ice vapor for clouds. The most astonishing illusions often have the simplest explanations. Buddy Gillespie reveals his solution to a spectacular effect no one has ever tackled before.
The Wizard of Oz, of course, presented a lot of very, very interesting problems, and the tornado was one of the toughest, naturally, that we had faced. We didn't quite know what to do. But anyway, the tornado was finally resolved by building a funnel type of thing out of muslin, and we put the top part of the thing on a gantry that moved the full length of the stage. And the lower part of the tornado was went into a slope in the floor with an S sort of a path, and it progressed towards the camera with a dustpan with Fuller's Earth, which gave the cloud of dust at the bottom. And the tornado was about 30 some odd feet in length.
From one standpoint of the work was that the hours were long and the time off from work was short. During this period, we had to have our dinner, sleep, and get back up again at 5 o'clock in the morning. We hardly ever arrived home earlier than 7:30 or 8. So you see what a short time we had. There's no recreation, none whatsoever. Judy, of course, being a girl, but she had to have her hair done every morning. She had to have it exactly the same way it was the day before.
Composer Harold Arlen's home movies provide the only backstage glimpse of the stars of Oz, all of whom managed to keep their spirits up despite long hours, intense heat, and uncomfortable wardrobe and makeup.
A lot of people ask me about the costumes. I had a rubber mask. The only unfortunate thing about it was that it sort of closed the pores in my face. And when the lights got real hot and they ate up all the oxygen, I couldn't breathe. But worst of all was Burt Lahr. His costume was 90 pounds. What a perfectly ridiculous kind of costume to put on a fellow like Burt Lahr, because Burt Lahr was a nervous type. Burt Lahr, he was always undoing the buttons. He always had gas on his stomach. He couldn't eat anything. And in his costume, it was literally true. He couldn't eat anything.
Jack Haley recalls his miseries.
I was doing a radio show. I had my own radio show and staying up late with the writers. So I had to be on what they call a reclining board. And I would go to sleep as soon as I got on the reclining board. And Burt Lahr said, that Haley can sleep on a beat hook.
In a film that is breaking new ground, there are all sorts of unexpected accidents and injuries. For Margaret Hamilton, Oz is a frightening experience that she will always remember.
It was the end of my first scene of the picture. And she pulls around and stands on this little elevator that went down slowly or went down fast. In this case, it dropped out from under me. It left my feet and I followed it. And it went just like clockwork, and that's the one you see. The first one we did. Then we came back from lunch, and everybody again is tired. It was all just one mistake after another. And I stepped down, the smoke all came up, and I went down. I felt just something warmth on my face. And then there were some dropping things burning, and I thought, what in the world is that? I had a wonderful young man, Jack Young, who really saved my life. He was right there and grabbed hold of me, and we ran to the first aid station on the set, and where he began working on my face to get the makeup off. We didn't know this until early the next day, but I had a 2nd degree on my face and 3rd on my hand. After he got the makeup off, which was very traumatic for me because it was just hurt so much. I was just, you sort of tremble. You just can't help it. I was just shaking with it. And finally he got through and he said, oh, I know it's been awful, honey. He said, but I'll tell you about it. Right now I want you to know that there's copper in that makeup. And if I didn't get that off, it would have gone on eating into your face.
The house began to pitch, and the kitchen took a fish.
The legends of Munchkin mischief begin almost immediately. Most stories are greatly exaggerated. Some are true. An eyewitness is 31-year-old MGM contract player Robert Young.
What's kind of interesting when I look back now, I always thought of a Major Lot as like a small town. And these Munchkins, they were all over the place. And so many of them, I lost track, I don't know, 100 or something like that. And wonderful little people, I just loved them, adored every one of them. But they were all over the place. And they were hiding under benches, and they come out of the bushes, and they were climbing upstairs and falling downstairs, because as soon as the director said cut, they went.
When we were doing the picture, they tried to restrict us because, don't forget, you got about 125 midgets, and they were all curious. And there were 2 brothers. They were a little bit drunky, but not on the set, though, believe it or not. There was one other little gentleman. He drank quite a bit, but he was very quiet. He was the perfect image of a midget, Hamburg hat, the little cane. I mean, he was cute as a Bugsy. A boy could he drink. No, they didn't have much time. We worked 6 days a week, from 5 in the morning till about 6 in the evening. The only day they had off was Sunday. So it was 90% fabrication. It makes for good copy, I guess.
Judy Garland's children, Liza Minnelli and Joey and Lorna Luft, have personal insights into the Munchkin adventures. The stories proliferate with their mother's occasional appearances on the Jack Paar TV show.
I see. Well, what about the Munchkins?
Yeah, how about the what?
the Munchkins. What? Yeah. Were they little kids or were they little men?
Drunks.
They were little drunks? What they, you got me stuttering. What did they do? What did they do?
What did they do? Well, one of them, who was about 40, a gentleman asked me for dinner, and I couldn't say, I don't want to go out. I can't because you're a midget. And I just said, no, my mother wouldn't like it. Come on, bring your ma, too, you know.
How big was he?
About 2 inches high.
Our mother had an amazing sense of humor, and anybody who really knew her knew what a funny, bright, witty raconteur she was, and her vocabulary was immense. And she had a way of telling a story. She could change anything. So anything that she talked about would become an epic joke, almost. And we used to love to listen to her. And she did that several times, telling stories about the Wizard of Oz. And they have since passed into myth. I mean, people believe a lot of the things that she has told, which in fact, we know are not true.
Whenever we do that little dance up the Yellow Brick Road,